The Telegraph has spoken to Simon Pearson, a teacher who says he was sacked from his college because of remarks he made on Facebook.
He believes he was targeted because of his Christian beliefs, despite making private comments entirely unrelated to his work.
It really stems from what I believed, the injustice that was done at the time. So many people were just having that two-tier situation where some were imprisoned and others weren't. Did awful things, worse things than Lucy Connolly ever could have said, and they'd actually done them. And they're still awaiting justice, some of them. So it's not right.
We're now 1 year on from the appalling Southport attacks and the riots that followed, as well as the sometimes draconian sentencing, which received criticisms of quote-unquote two-tier justice. But the fallout of those events continues. We're joined in the studio by Gordon Rayner, who has interviewed a man called Simon Pearson. Gordon, tell us, who is Simon?
Well, Simon Pearson is, or was, a teacher at a college in Preston. And after the Lucy Connolly incident, he posted a message on a private Facebook group in which he criticised the way that Lucy Connolly had been treated. And as a result of that, he was accused of Islamophobia by a colleague. The college decided that it was going to take the matter on, started a disciplinary process, and ultimately he was sacked.
Gordon, can you tell us exactly what was in that post, just to give listeners an idea?
Yeah, so as I say, this was on a private Facebook group with fewer than 100 people in it. So, he wasn't posting anything publicly. It was just to friends and also nothing to do with his job. He said that the way that Lucy Connolly had been treated was an example of a two-tier policy from the top down. And he said, I'll summarise slightly, but he said, the woman who made that appalling comment about the mosque in Southport is obviously wrong. But how many Islamist plots and crimes have been experienced in our country? Certain sections of society calling for the genocide of Jews from the river to the sea are also free to express their opinions and make Jewish people afraid to walk the streets. He obviously thought that he was just making a personally held comment about current events. But as I say, he was then reported to his employers, who decided they would take the matter on, and he was eventually sacked.
OK, well, let's now listen to your interview with Simon Pearson.
Simon, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Tea. Can you just begin by telling us why you decided to post your Facebook post that is now the subject of this problem?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate all your support, and thank you very much, Gordon, for interviewing me. Basically, it was the case of last summer with Lucy Connolly and the Manchester airport attack. And it was just basically the concern because of so many people were expressing opinions and being persecuted for it, being like Lucy Connolly, particularly that was the case that came to the fore then. And I just felt compelled to say something on the private Facebook page. It was just a friends only area. There was probably have less than 100 friends on there. And I just expressed what I was feeling about the injustice of, just going back a little bit, my family originally, I was born in Southport. I was brought up in Southport, so I have an affinity to the area. I know the area, and I know that for example, the mosque in Southport is very close to where the attacks happened. And I know I put myself in ordinary people's shoes, and just I for many years I've been an ESOL teacher, teaching people from all walks of life, all religions, all places that you can imagine in the world. I've worked in China, I've worked in Brazil, and it's from that background that I thought I could comment on the issue. And it's really from sort of a background of Christian, Judeo-Christian values that of fairness that I just felt compelled to say something, particularly in the case of Lucy, and also the police in a situation with the Manchester Airport attack. It seemed initially very biased, and then the full picture came out. And it was just a shocking time for the whole nation, I think. And I just was expressing that on a private Facebook page, never dreaming that I'd be in this situation.
Okay, so so let's just talk about that point, because it's fairly crucial to your story, isn't it? That this wasn't you trying to make some sort of public pronouncement that was intentionally provocative. You thought you were just talking amongst friends. Do you know how that then ended up in the hands of somebody who decided to complain about it?
Yes. Well, some of my friends on Facebook, a large majority are from international places and things like that. So it was just a couple who were, I think, were looking out to get me in trouble, basically.
Okay. Okay, so that's how this all sort of began. Just before we go on to what happened, just tell me a little bit more about your work as a teacher, because you were telling me there that you've worked all over the world. Have you always been a teacher?
No, I was an IT technician for a time in Hong Kong. I also worked for a computer shop before that. So we're going back about 30 years there.
Okay, but how long have you taught for?
30 years I've been a teacher.
Okay, and have you always taught English as doing this teaching?
I have, yes. I've always taught English speakable languages.
Yeah.
And
I think a point that will become more relevant, I guess, as your story goes on, but it's probably worth making it now, is that you've spent a lot of your time teaching people who are from all sorts of different backgrounds, Muslims, asylum seekers, students, and you've helped an awful lot of people, and you're very much not just open-minded, but you're somebody who has spent their lives helping people from those backgrounds.
Exactly, yes. In fact, when I first came back to the country, I was working at another college. There was a family from Blackburn. I wrote to the then MP for Blackburn, which was Jack Straw, supporting this family, and they were asylum seekers from a Muslim country. So I've had that background. I actually taught in a Muslim area of China, and I also posted on my Facebook about this area of China where the Uyghur people are being persecuted. And I wrote about 3 articles about that on my Facebook, just to so people are aware of the issue going on. And so it's ironic that I get labelled as being Islamophobic.
Okay. Well, let's come on to that. So you've explained to us that you posted onto what you thought was a private Facebook group. Some people that you worked with saw that. What happened next?
I came off holiday that summer, and
this is last year.
Last year in August, and I just got summoned into the office, and basically they said they didn't really say much of anything. They just said, you've made posts that have been people have offended some people in the department, and I'm here just to let you know you're immediately suspended. They escorted me off the site.
This is at Preston College, yeah.
Preston College immediately escorted me off the site and took away my ID and all of that. And they said, you're not permitted to talk to any of your colleagues.
And was this
about anything?
Was this the day you came back from the summer holidays? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what posts. I wasn't told anything. What was their concern? I just didn't know anything. I was just completely blindsided.
Yeah. So this is what, September last year?
the end of August.
Okay.
Not exactly sure.
Okay, so you're sent home and told you've been suspended. What happened then?
I was kept on suspension for 5 months while an investigation was launched. I think most of the investigation, it seemed from the report, happened very quickly within the first couple of months, but they kept me on suspension for those 5 months, I think, in the hope that I may resign or something like that.
So 5 months on, that takes us to when? When was the next thing that you heard from them?
It was really myself and the wonderful people at Christian Concern who were actually supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
My situation is that I couldn't have done this by myself.
Yes.
My wife has got sort of serious health issues, and I'm kind of a carer for her as well.
Okay.
So, it was been a very, very difficult time. I put pressure. I wrote to the HR saying, this can't continue. I need some resolution to know where my life is going. I'd like to get back to work. I love my job.
Yeah.
I love the students. I just never had any complaint by anybody. I had an unblemished record for 20 years. They couldn't put anything down to my teaching or my interaction with students. There was no access to my Facebook from any student, so they couldn't really claim, like they are doing, that I'm bringing the college into disrepute. The only people that did were these 2 colleagues of mine who actually shared the posts and made it available to the NEU representative, which was their representative, not mine, really.
Yes, that's the National Education Union representative. So you mentioned that during this time when you were suspended, you were being supported by the Christian Concern, which people maybe have heard of, the Christian Legal Centre, which is they're sort of obviously they're legal arm. You are obviously a Christian. Did you feel while this was going on that this was something to do with your religion as opposed to just what you'd said about Lucy Connolly, perhaps?
I think it was all from that background. Judeo-Christian values of the rule of law and respecting people just in general. If people cannot respect authorities, and that's really part of the New Testament, respect for government, respect for authorities. They deserve the measures that have that are happening at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just get back to the timeline here then. So you'd been suspended for 5 months. You'd contacted the college and said, "I need a resolution to this." At what point did they tell you what they had decided, and what did they tell you?
They then decided to have the disciplinary hearing. So they went into that. I waited for 5 months. I was just guessing at who it was that I sort of guessed who
had complained,
accused me, and made the complaint. And I also sort of guessed maybe what angle that they were, what posts they might be complaining about. So, which I apologized initially. I sent out as soon as I was accused in a general sort of way, I knew I'd offended somebody, so I just put something out saying, "I'm really sorry that I've offended you." I didn't deny what I wrote because I believe it was a fair comment. I did delete the posts. I took photos of them and deleted them, and I sort of said to the college, I've apologized, I've deleted the posts, but I can't deny what what I believe is true, and the right to express. If we don't have freedom of speech and be able to express our concerns about valid topics, despite even if it offends somebody, I mean, they could have just unfriended me, or they could have contacted me. They're on WhatsApp. They could have contacted me, and they didn't. They just went straight through their union to the college higher management. They didn't even go to my immediate line manager. Nothing like that.
And what can you tell us about the people who were on the other side of this, the people who had complained and the people from the union that took this up? Obviously, it has been reported that these people were Muslim members of either of your college or of the union. Can you clarify that?
Yes, there were two members. The one, the NEU representative is a Muslim, and I think they sort of generalized everything, that I was talking about all Muslims, and I didn't even really mention. Didn't mention any race, religion in the one.
It was a free speech issue.
And in the other post, I mentioned Islamists, I meant extremists who've done acts of terror. I didn't mean, and it's obvious. So that's what I was talking about from the post.
It's a very specific term. Okay, so I think you were about to say there that after you'd been suspended for 5 months, there was then a disciplinary hearing. Is that right? After 5 months?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens then? You get called into the college? What happened?
Well, they had an investigation meeting with me earlier on. Then I was left for 5 months, pretty much. And then they had the disciplinary, and then I made an appeal. I had an appeal here.
So tell us about the disciplinary hearing. Presumably, was that the first time you really were told exactly what it is that they thought you'd done wrong?
No, they did mention the post in the investigation meeting earlier.
Okay.
I can't remember how many months earlier it was, actually. But they showed me the post. I'd already brought a copy of the post to show them, because I sort of figured from who it was. And then they told me that they actually didn't confirm in the investigation who it was who made the accusations.
Yes. So just tell us, Simon, I can't imagine what must have been going through your mind when you were off work for 5 months with your entire life, your future hanging in the balance. Then you go through this disciplinary hearing where you're effectively accused of wrongdoing. Just give us an idea of how that was affecting you and what your life was like during that time.
Well, it was extremely stressful, of course. I couldn't go to work. I was helping my wife at home and doing just ordinary chores and things like that. I didn't know whether to look for a job or, whether to resign even. All of that but I just felt I needed to fight for a chance to go back to the job that I love, really, and that's what I tried to do.
Okay, so after the disciplinary hearing, which was when are we talking now? December, January time, or?
January, I think, yes.
Okay, so January this year. So you presumably are then told that you're fired, are you?
Yes. After the disciplinary, it was February, they told me. The 13th of February, they told me I was dismissed.
So 13th of February, you're dismissed. And what did they tell you was the reason for that?
They just said it was because I broke college policies, that I could bring the college into disrepute from what I've shared. And so, yeah, I appealed, of course, and argued that wasn't the case. And also, the situation with another case recently, it was Christy Higgs' case, where she made comments on a private Facebook page, and they overturned her. In the High Court.
Okay. And what was your understanding of the college's social media policy at the time that you posted what you did on Facebook?
Well, my understanding was as long as I didn't put it in public and I was on a private Facebook page, then I could make those comments. They weren't to do with the college.
Yeah.
They weren't. They were current affairs at the time, current events, and it was of concern to the whole nation. So it was something I wouldn't have linked Preston College with. I didn't say anything about Preston College with that. And I guess most people on my friends only would know that I work for Preston College. That would be the only thing.
So you said that you appealed and you lost that appeal, but you're now taking this to an employment tribunal. Can you tell us about what the grounds for that are and how that process is going to play out?
Well, the grounds, as I mentioned, the Christy Higgs case, that she had similar, not similar comments, but it was on a different topic. But it was on a private Facebook page. She made these comments, and it was a similar sort of argument. And the High Court overturned that. It's basically to do with freedom of expression, freedom of religious beliefs, concern about current events. And if we're not allowed to make those in a private Facebook page between friends, I don't see that the college can sort of legislate on what our personal opinions are when they're made in a private Facebook page.
Yeah, and I think your legal representatives are also making the point that the beliefs that you have are protected, and therefore this should not have. Well, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. That you should have been allowed to just hold those views, say what you wanted to privately, and instead we seem to be in this sort of era of thought crime almost, don't we now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Very sad.
Okay. Obviously, we can't discuss what the outcome of this tribunal may be because it's ongoing. But tell us what you're doing at the moment. What are you doing about work? What are you doing about sort of getting your life together?
Yeah, I can't really say too much about that. I have a job now. It's nothing to do with what I'm trained to do.
Yeah.
But I thank God that it's a job that I can do, and that actually this company has given me the chance. They were very supportive, and I was always up front in whatever interview I went to. It's taken so long just to get into employment. I mean,
how many jobs have you applied for?
Hundreds.
Literally hundreds.
Literally hundreds.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've applied for some teaching positions. As soon as I, of course, mentioned why did you leave your last job, and as soon as I mentioned that, I'm upfront about it. And I just said, I made these posts, and then they being labelled as Islamophobic, that's when they don't want to know.
Yeah.
So which is something I'm not.
Yeah. What do you hope will be the result of the tribunal? Let's say you were to win the tribunal. What's your ultimate goal?
Ultimately, is just to support my family, to get back into the job that I love, and to somehow be a blessing to our nation that is going through this situation where we cannot talk about what the things that really matter and express what's in our hearts about them, and really to clear my name, because there's nothing to do what they've said is they've labelled me as is not true.
Yeah. If you were to lose the tribunal and you couldn't go back to teaching, what would the future hold for you?
Well, I'm a Christian and I trust God. I trust God with my life, and whatever happens, I know God has me, and I I just will carry on to clear my name and continue trying to do that. And I just trust God with that.
Yeah. Do you think that if you hadn't been overtly Christian, this would have happened at all?
Probably not. I think it really stems from what I believed, the injustice that was done at the time. So many people were just having that two-tier situation where some were imprisoned and others weren't. Did awful things, worse things than Lucy Connolly ever could have said, and they'd actually done them. And they're still awaiting justice, some of them. So it's not right.
Yeah, and
I have to say so.
How does that make you feel when you think about what's happened to you? Do you feel that you've been effectively victimized because of your religion, or is that overstating it?
I think that was part of it. That was definitely part of that did come across through certain things that was said, and the values that I hold, they went into other things. That relate to my Christian beliefs as well. Yeah, were mentioned. So,
have you had any contact from any of your former students? I say former. I mean, maybe there will be again, but
my students were very low level. So I do go out and about in Preston, and they do stop me, and they don't really know about this situation at all.
Right, but they must know you're not there anymore.
Yeah, they have mentioned that to others of my colleagues. Actually 5 of my colleagues are very supportive of me, and they understand the situation.
And what do your students say when they bump into you in the street? Do they say that they miss you, or do they say that they need to? Do they ask you why you're not there?
Yes, a couple of them that I did bump into asked why are you not with me anymore. Well, one of them actually gave up college because they said that this chap from Ukraine, and he just said, I'm not continuing with the course because you're not going to be my teacher.
Sure.
He actually gave up.
That's a vote of confidence. It's slightly sad, but yeah,
it's sad. But I did actually encourage him to go back.
Yeah.
Despite all of that. But,
and did he?
I don't think he did. Right. No.
So it's not just impacting your life; it's having a knock-on effect on other people's lives.
Yeah.
Okay. You're obviously a very thoughtful man. You, as you've said, you're very religious. You put your trust in God and your faith. But I guess I assume there must be a large part of you that feels quite bitter about this. Do you find yourself getting angry?
Yes, angry at the injustice and the things that I've been through and my family's been through. But really, I do forgive those people, my accusers that have brought these accusations. I forgive the college. I don't have any bitterness at all. I just want to clear my name because that's not who I am and they labelled me as. And I trust God with that result,
And who do you ultimately blame for what's happened to you?
Well, I don't really blame necessarily I know I could say my accusers and the college for just taking the easy route, really, which I guess has not proved to be so easy for them. But I don't want to blame anybody really, but they, I guess, are responsible.
Yeah. Okay. And just before we finish, can you give us an idea of how different your life is now, as compared to what it was before you made that Facebook post, and how it's affected your family?
It's been a very, very difficult financially. It's a huge part of our income. My wife's stressed with it and doesn't help her health condition. and really just the stress of going through a lot of rejections that I have had recently, looking for work. I did seek out a little bit of help just to get through some of those times. But I thank God that now I've got a job, and I'm trying very hard to be successful at this job.
Yeah. Do you have children, Simon?
Yes, I have two boys, two men, really.
Okay.
27 and 25.
Oh, you don't look old enough. You started early. Okay. And how have they responded to this? Are they as sort of calm about the whole thing as you've been during this interview, or do they get angrier?
No, one of them wrote a response, but we thought that wasn't a good idea, so we didn't actually. They wanted to defend me. They know that that's not the situation. That the way I've been treated was very wrong. So.
Okay. All right. Well, is there, before you go, is there anything that I haven't asked you about, or anything that we haven't discussed that you feel people should know?
I just think people should be aware and concerned about the state of our nation, where we can't express what we really think. People, the police are even, or the authorities want to even impose upon our thoughts, our prayers, things like that, in certain cases. And, it's quite a sad situation and I never thought I'd be in this position to speak on it. And just hope that it's useful for somebody.
Yeah. Do you feel that there is a role that politicians can play in this? Is there something that the government could do to stop this sort of thing happening to people like you?
Yes, I think they should concentrate on being equal about things like this Islamophobia discussion that they're having at the moment, and I think all religions should be treated equally.
Yeah.
And I also think, in a way, that the most persecuted religion on the planet at the moment are Christians,
Yes.
and that's almost, as far as I know, it's a fact in a lot of nations. So yeah, I don't see why they should have special treatment just for one certain religion. I think everybody should be treated equally, and I think that's what the Equality Act covers as well.
So we hear a lot of talk about two-tier policing in this country, and obviously this doesn't involve the police. But do you feel that you have been treated more harshly as a Christian than you may have been if you were a member of another religion who had made a comment that, say, a Christian found offensive?
Yes, very much so. Yes, I do.
Have you seen examples of that, or is there something that happened to you during the course of this that's made you think that?
Just reading the investigation report, it was read more like a witch hunt than anything else.
Okay.
And that was quite shocking for me. Anything
in particular that you can share with us?
Basically, just generally, the way that the questions were framed and asked, it was already assumed a bias, really. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me to be able to comment on the specifics, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you've been you've been very brave to talk about this, and I think you've demonstrated admirable restraint. I think a lot of people would have been a lot more angry if they'd been in your situation. So good luck to you for the future. Good luck with the tribunal.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for coming on the Daily Tea.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
Gordon, listening to Simon Pearson, what's striking is how thoughtful and rational, cautious he is. This isn't a fanatic keyboard warrior.
No, he's not somebody who's sitting at home having one too many drinks on a Friday night and then tweeting something that he later regrets. He is very religious, as you heard there. His religion is very important to him. He believes in values, Christian values, including fairness and respecting the law. And he was just very upset by the whole situation that was going on at that time in Southport, where he's from. And he just felt that he wanted to share his sort of outrage, really. And an awful lot of people at the time were outraged. And he did it in a fairly sort of measured way, I thought.
What's striking to me about this case is there have been other ones in which educators were sanctioned or lost their jobs for something they said in the classroom or a school location or in some relation to school materials. This is the first one I've heard of, at least, where what he said really was private, not to do with his job and not for public consumption.
Yes, and I think what you have to bear in mind here is that it basically offended one person. This wasn't something that was viewed by lots of people who then all took offence or complained. One person decided they didn't like it, and rather than, as he says, just unfriending him or WhatsApping him and saying, I don't like this, or, could you take it down, they just went straight to his employer through the union, and the college, for some reason, which I still find rather unfathomable, decided it was up to them to do something about it.
And also, not just they did that, but he says in the interview he's applied for hundreds of jobs.
Yeah.
Other employers have decided, we don't want to touch you either.
No, so somebody who is a very law-abiding man who has helped thousands of people, I'm sure, over his career, including Muslims. He talked about how he once wrote to Jack Straw to help a family of asylum seekers from a Muslim country. He is now living in fear, basically. He's living in fear because he is worried that the record that he has, it's not a criminal record, but as far as employment goes, it may as well be. Because when he applies for jobs, they say to him, why did you lose your last job? And he tells them, and then the word Islamophobia comes up, and then they don't want to touch him. To the extent that he won't even say, he has a job now, but he won't even say what kind of job it is, because never mind saying who his employer is, he's so terrified of this rebounding on him again that he literally won't even say what field he's working in.
It does have that echo of two-tier again, doesn't it? Because he has lost his livelihood over this. It was a private Facebook group. It was not for public consumption. We're paid to write exactly this kind of stuff for tens of thousands of people to read.
Millions.
And there were no such repercussions. And it does seem, Gary Lineker, as lots of people will be aware of, has recently been ejected from the BBC for allegedly anti-Semitic remarks or sharing an anti-Semitic video.
Right.
He's been snapped up by ITV straight away.
Yeah, for an awful lot of money, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think, look, we are living in an era of thought crime, aren't we? And I interviewed a lady last year who was a Newcastle United fan, like me, and she had posted something on Twitter about LGBT issues. She's a lesbian herself, but it was about transgender. She was banned from attending football matches by the club, even though it was nothing to do with football, nothing she'd said or done inside the stadium. So this is the era we're living in now. If you say something privately about something, then that can affect your employment, entry to public places, even though it's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And it's fear on fear, isn't it? Because here is Simon, who's essentially frightened to say what he does now in case he's ousted out of this job. And now it's companies, organisations, colleges who are ejecting the staff that they ought to protect as though they are fearful of a mob.
Yes, I mean, it's not so much cancel culture as this sort of HR blob culture, isn't it? And I think one of the other very important points that Simon made in that interview was that he effectively believes that if he had been from another religion and he'd made a comment that had offended a Christian, he'd still be in a job because, and that's what he means, I think, by this two-tier system. That if you make a comment that offends someone who accuses you of Islamophobia, then people will come down on you like a ton of bricks. But if you were to say something about Christians which offended a Christian, that's kind of fair game.
I might be wrong, but I sense that the social media mob has died down a bit. That what we're seeing here is institutions internalizing the mob. It's professionals deciding that they won't work with that kind of person rather than them responding to something that's going on the outside. And that's even more frightening. And it's not coming from the government. Some people would say that Angela Rayner's employment bill has an element of this when it comes to policing water cooler chat and things like that.
Yeah,
the
banter.
The government insists not. But either way, this institution is not responding to government legislation. It's doing it itself because it chooses to do it, and it was a private row. This whole affair did not have to ever become public. There's no mob involved. This is an institution deciding for itself what is and isn't acceptable, and it seems to me ruining a man's life over it.
Yeah, and they ultimately decided that he had risked bringing that college into disrepute, even though what he said didn't name the college, didn't have anything to do with the college, was entirely just a private chat among what he thought were friends.
Which also has a sort of secondary fear to it, which is just the idea of your friends snooping on you.
Yeah,
and there isn't a safe space to say what you're thinking.
No, and look, if he had said, we need to go out and murder people, then that's one thing. But if you just sort of are chatting about current affairs and you express an opinion, then where have we got to now that you can't even do that?
I keep joking that I am concerned there are things that I might say in a private conversation that I can get in trouble for, that if I publish them in a column, I get away with.
Well, yeah.
And I think Camilla's keeping notes. I think she's keeping a folder on me, and someday it's going to get whipped out and shown to HR.
Well, because, I think we were talking before we came on about how, we are very privileged because we can say and write things.
We have lawyers on our side.
Exactly. We have the protection of people who actually are looking out for our best interests. Whereas there are a lot of employers who seem to be doing the opposite rather than looking out for their employees' best interests.
So the freedom to speak your mind becomes an elite privilege.
Yeah.
And not only that, his union hasn't protected him either, and they should be standing up for their members on particularly these kinds of issues.
Well, they've taken sides. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Gordon Rayner, thank you very much.